and welcome to Raw, the Fight Within podcast with myself, KUGAN CASSIUS. This week, I'm delighted to be joined by someone who doesn't really like doing a lot of this sort of stuff.
Definitely don't, which is
whole
weird.
24 hours, let's just have it out, Ali. 24 hours for you to consider this, I don't know, I was going to say proposal, but whatever it was. But were you like thinking,
Well, you did manage to persuade me, I'm here. So I just don't like, as much as I like to interview people, I hate when people ask me the questions. I'm not used to it, that's all it is. So you've done a good job to get me here.
Okay.
Fair play to you.
All right, well, we'll put that off the list. But no, I do notice you don't, because even sometimes when we're around we're doing little skits where we're walking around interviewing people during a fight week and stuff. And I remember a couple of times coming up to you and you're like, God, go away. Leave me alone.
Yeah, I just think as well, if it's to do with, say, a fight week or certain boxers, in our industry, we've got to stay quite neutral. So as soon as I get asked the sort of predictions or questions, I think, well, I've got to stay quite neutral. I don't really want to say what I think because I potentially have to work with both of the boxers in the near future. So I'm just always, hesitant to give my opinion on certain things if I'm going to have to interview them maybe the next day. Having just said, no, I think he so-and-so easily wins, and then I've got to interview the other one. And also just, like, who am I to be interviewed? Like, why do you want to interview me? That's always what I think.
Well, look, we're going to try and even avoid talking about, we're not going to talk about boxing, this is not what this is about anyway, so obviously there is some mild referencing to that. But, so, I didn't send you any questions, but also I know that you've watched a couple of them, but I've changed some of the questions for this season, which has only been like 4 episodes, so it's unlikely that you know
anything
exactly
that's coming.
how it's going to start, basically. Okay. This first one's actually quite difficult because I've been asked a lot of these questions at some point, so I thought, hang on, let me put people on the spot with these questions. So, currently today, if I said to you, you can change one thing about your life, what do you change?
One thing about my life. Because my life is in a really good place at the moment, so that's quite hard. Maybe where I live, because I live in South Wales and it's a nightmare from everywhere. It just takes so long to travel. I'm just travelling all the time for work. So maybe just sort of speed up the process of maybe living somewhere else a bit closer to where work is, because I spend my life driving. Okay. So probably that, yeah.
Ali, I gave you, like, you could have said, like, you want like ability to fly or something.
Well, no, I mean, I want to keep it realistic.
I gave you the option of anything. You could have
I thought you meant like my current life.
Anything.
I mean, if I could have endless amounts of money or something.
That's better. I wish I could live in the street next door.
Yeah, probably if it was like out there and anything.
No, absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Let's one thing about your life.
All right. I mean, either like can forever have good health for like me and my family and loved ones, or just endless amounts of money. Who wouldn't want that?
Who wouldn't want that?
Who wouldn't want that? And to move house.
But no, listen. Like,
oh God. I thought you meant like the actual life that I'm in right now. Realistically, what could change?
One aspect of your life to change. Some people have chosen to change nothing, but
maybe just. I mean, I suppose having endless money would allow me to move wherever I wanted. That would be perfect.
We're not offering these.
I know. Is this going to happen at the end of this podcast?
So, because obviously your kind of career has been in boxing, but actually people don't really realise how many years you've actually been kind of putting in the graft into that part of the industry. But do you ever think, or can you think, if you hadn't kind of delved into the boxing world, what you'd be doing now?
Well, I was a personal trainer for years, sort of alongside the presenting. And so I'd probably still be working in the fitness industry. I didn't love doing personal training. I loved the clients I had, but it's a very difficult job in the fact that you're doing an hour training session with them, and then you're setting them a diet plan, which they're probably not sticking to. So it's like you're just doing the same thing, but not really getting the results. It's quite a difficult job sometimes. And also I knew it wasn't what I wanted to do. But I'd probably still maybe be in the fitness industry, or I love dogs, so I'd probably be working with dogs in some aspects. I do already, but I just love dogs, so I'd have to have some sort of involvement with that.
Because you've been doing it long enough for it to be not something you decided to do yesterday. Do you know what I mean? Like there's new people coming in and out of the industry, but you kind of you kind of worked your way up the hard way as well, didn't you?
It took me a long time, yeah. I went a sort of a bit of a weird route really, but it was just the way that it played out, and it was the best way for me to do it. So at the beginning, I didn't necessarily knew I wanted to do presenting in boxing. I knew sport in general, like sport was always my interest, but it sort of fell into boxing because I started off ring girling at 18. I did it for about 10 years, did it for a long time, worked my way up through that, and then I made the connections through ring girling, and I started doing presenting sort of on the side of that, doing basically free work just to get the experience. And then I think because people in boxing had seen me doing the interviews, because I already knew them, they then offered me the presenting work, and I started sort of getting into the industry like that. So
I mean, I can't really name offhand anyone who's been in that situation of, and plenty have tried to do it, kind of coming from the ring girl world, shall we say? Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah, you can, yeah.
The ring girl world, and actually make that transition to becoming kind of like the position you're in now, which is, you know, a respected presenter within the industry. I don't really know anyone who's done that over the last sort of. I'm not saying there's loads of people that have tried to do it, but there are people that have tried to do it. But I don't know anyone offhand that's actually done that and actually made a success of it.
yeah, I suppose it was hard. The hardest part of it was, one, getting started. So actually, the thing with sort of presenting and interviewing, it's difficult if you don't have the experience, you can't get the jobs, but then you can't get the jobs without the experience. Like you're sort of going around in a circle. So you have to do a lot of, well, I had to do a lot of work for free and just offering to do interviews and, you know, just doing stuff like whatever I could just to get the experience. But the most difficult stage was cutting off people seeing me as a ring girl and then seeing me as an interviewer. That stage was quite difficult.
That transition.
Yeah, because like people still saw me as, oh yeah, she's the ring girl and she's interviewing so and so, and that took a little while. I mean, I think I've got it now, because I think most people probably don't even remember that I ring girled, or if they do, they just don't even think about it. But yeah, that transition was hard to make sure I was taken seriously, because I suppose there's a perception of ring girls that, you know, they don't like boxing, don't know anything about boxing. They're only there to like look good, not to know what they're talking about. So that was, to be taken seriously took a little bit of time.
Yeah, that's my follow-on from that, because I think it's a quite an interesting topic for women in boxing, because it's such a predominantly male, like not just boxers, obviously there's female boxers, but especially when you start, because when you started, this whole kind of new era of women's boxing, which is obviously flown and done very well over the last years, wasn't really around at that time. So I suppose back then it would have been more difficult. Be careful what you're saying, because I'm going to offend someone. But I'm not saying it in an offensive way. I just mean it was difficult back then to kind of get your opportunities, because the influx of women's boxing wasn't kind of around when you first started. Yeah,
and I think there was a lot less females just in anything in sport really back then. Yeah, so I suppose at first I didn't necessarily think of that I could go down the presenting route in boxing, because maybe it wasn't even a possibility when at 18, 19, 20, I don't think that was even an option. I knew I was a runner, so I knew sport and I liked sport, but I didn't think maybe boxing was the way to do it, because I just didn't know if that would ever be an option. But then I did start to see, there was women doing the post-fight interviews, and there was women around, not a lot, but there was some. And so I thought, actually, that I could, there is an opening. I knew I could do it, but there was an opening for it. And then when I got the Frank Warren ring girl job, that's when I started to sort of speak to people about doing interviews. A few like YouTube channels approached me about doing stuff for them. They even said themselves they'd never thought about using a girl before. They always said, oh no, we'd never have a woman like interview. But then they said, we want to give you the chance to do it, because we know that you work in boxing, you know these boxers. So it just sort of went from there.
Do you believe that still today there is either a stereotype or a stigma attached to female presenters within boxing specifically?
Yeah, I do.
What is that?
That you don't know what you're talking about. The amount of times, even all these years later, that I get someone will watch me on something, or maybe they've seen me for the first time, or they've only seen me a few times on something, and they'll say, "You really do know. It's great. You know what you're talking about." And I'm like, well, that is my job. So I don't know why they would never say it to a male they wouldn't go, oh, it's great, you know what you're talking about. because obviously he knows what he's talking about, hence why he's got the job. So it is weird. Like, I don't take it, offensively. I understand why they're saying it, because maybe it's a bit more unusual, but it is weird. I wouldn't have got the job if I didn't. I wouldn't have got a job. I suppose some people think maybe I get the job because it's ticking a box of having a female on there, maybe. But yeah, I do know what I'm talking about.
It is. I don't think half the people probably are not saying it in a meaningful, patronising way, but it does come across. It's like, oh, you actually know what you're talking about,
Yeah.
Ali.
It's just a bit weird. Like, if you actually think about it, it is weird. I don't take it offensively, but it is. I mean, no one would have a job generally if they didn't know what they were doing in it. So it's a bit weird.
Well, yeah. I mean, normally that's how that works, but
Yeah, and I've worked to get the jobs I've got. They haven't just been given to me. So yeah, I like to think I know what I'm doing, and I'm quite good at it.
I think people have got to differentiate the differences between kind of like commentating and analysing fights to presenting. It's like, it's literally chalk and cheese. Like, sort of what you do or what I would do is completely different to sitting there throughout a 7-hour broadcast and having to like be a co-commentator.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it.
No, there's no way. Yeah. No, I mean, I've been asked if I could. If I've been at say a small hall show and a commentator hasn't turned up, the lead comms or even co-comms, which is even harder, haven't turned up, they'll say, oh, can you just like jump on comms? And I could, but I wouldn't feel confident doing it because it's not what I've worked, I've not got experience of it, it's not what I've worked towards to do, and that isn't my job. There's many people, male and females, who are better at that than I would ever be. So yeah, I'm not a commentator, and I'm not a pundit. It's not who am I to say that a boxer should be doing something else differently in the ring. I'm not the expert. My expertise is being able to host the show and present it and lead it in a certain way. Yes, I do understand that what the pundit is saying to me, and I know the boxers, and I know a lot, but it's not for me to give my opinion on what they should have done or what they did wrong or what they did well.
Very well put.
Different skill, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think some people get a little bit, because I was asked to do it once. I think I was in.
Have you ever commentated?
Dubai. No, I did it on a show, on an MTK show a few years ago. They asked me to jump on for half hour. And I was proper panicking about it. I was like, I've not done this before, do you know what I mean?
It's totally different.
I can't remember who was doing it with me, but whoever was doing it with me, apologies, I can't remember. But they were like aware of the fact that
leading
it,
yeah.
It was like I was chipping in with the, go on, my son. And I wasn't really doing that. But no, it was really weird. But I'm glad I did it because ultimately you are talking about something that you do or we do love. But at the same time, like the skill of actually portraying into words what you're watching in boxing is like an absolute skill.
Yeah, because it's hard not just to say exactly what you're seeing, because anyone could technically, I suppose, do that. Like, that was a great jab.
Yeah.
He's just thrown a left hook. Like, you could easily do that, but that's not what commentary is. No. So yeah, I certainly a skill that I don't think I've got. I mean, I'd love to have it, but I just don't have it now. It'd have to be a long time to work on that.
At the moment.
Yeah.
Okay. Talk to me about a time in your life where you felt as though you were fighting a losing battle in your life.
Fighting a losing battle. Possibly getting into presenting, I would say. Because, as I said earlier, if you haven't got the experience of it, you don't get offered the jobs. But then you can't get a job unless you've got experience. So it's really, really difficult at the start when you decide you want to do it, unless you've sort of had experience at uni, where I know a lot of people who did some stuff at uni for their sort of uni sports teams, which I didn't do. That sort of starts them off with a little bit of experience. But yeah, just trying to get that like first experience doing it was really, really difficult. It took me a long time. I mean, it's taken me years to get to a position where I was a full-time presenter. That took years. And also into a position where I felt like I was successful at doing it. So yeah, I would say that for a good few years, I felt like, God, am I actually going to be able to do this? Is this ever going to happen and be my career? So I'd say for the first few years of trying to do presenting.
Yeah, because I've seen, and I'm qualified to say this, I'm not trying to offend anyone, but I have seen girls drift in and out of, and I'm talking about boxing specifically, like thinking, it's not saying it's easy, but people can turn up to, I mean, men, this is the same for men as well, but kind of rock up to a few pressers, and then it's suddenly going to start strolling.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to get offered a job by like TNT or DAZN
Yeah.
or whoever. It's just going to happen off the back of like
A couple of
a couple
interviews.
of interviews. Do you know what I mean? It's like, and I think the realization of when whoever, I'm not specifically naming anyone, when they've done it for a few months and haven't seen, it's like going to the gym, isn't it, for 3
And
months,
not seeing the results yet.
and going, where's my six pack? I can't see it, but I'm going to give it up now.
Yeah.
Or this ain't for me. It's like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, but you'll be aware of that kind of, because it's not a massive industry as in like females within the sport in your role, but it is a competitive little
very
little field there.
Yeah.
Amongst, I'm not saying it's bitchy. I wouldn't know if it's bitchy and everyone's moaning about, oh, why did she get that job and why blah blah. But do you think there's a bit of that going on as well?
There is a little bit. I mean, not really directly to my face. I've heard a few. No one's been nasty to me, which is nice. You just hear things. You hear people have said things or.
What, from a jealous point of view? Or
I don't really know where it stems from. I mean, possibly. I like to think that I wouldn't have done anything to actually upset them or offend them. So you'd assume it was maybe disappointment from them that they haven't got certain roles or whatever. Which I suppose I'd be disappointed if also that it was vice versa, but I maybe wouldn't vocalise it to anyone. But I get it because there isn't many roles in it.
No.
Probably less so for females, and there's not loads of people in it, but it's more people than there are jobs, for sure. And I'm a bit of a nightmare with that I'll work for everyone. So I'm a bit of a nightmare. So I get it, I do get it.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to come on to that, but I mean, look, the only other thing, I mean, when you look at people like, say, like Michelle, who created a job for herself.
Yeah, very successfully.
And has done it for so long. I know she's kind of a little bit drifted away, but she's kind of floating back in now to concentrate on her law degree, but that's the only other way of having it in your control, isn't it? What she's done, build something, and kind of she was obviously doing it, still is to a certain extent now, of building your own thing. Did you ever think about kind of just doing like you?
Yeah, I did. So I mean, Michelle did it so well, and she was definitely like she's really, I think this is correct. She's probably the only female who's ever done that in terms of build her own YouTube platform.
She was one of the first ones. I mean,
she's got to be. Yeah, there's some over in America. There's very successfully. But I feel like of ones I was aware of in the UK, because she lived in the UK for a long time, Michelle.
Yeah.
That
her audience
is predominantly 100%. And she did it so well. If I almost did the same as that, it would. It's not behind the gloves. It's not Michelle. So and also I'm not. I think I'm not really a YouTube journalist type. I've done it and I still do it. I just don't feel most comfortable doing that. You know, I think when I do my presenting or my sort of reporting or post about interviews, it's sort of, it feels different to the doing. I've got no patience to be like queuing up. I'm not very good in those situations. You've seen me many times, losing my head because people are pushing in or having to, fight for interviews. And
part of the game.
It is, but it drives me mad.
When you've done it for a long time. We go for it like every day. Yesterday I was at a press conference. It's like, it's about managing your time back, do you know what I mean? Rather than wait in a queue there 7 deep, go for someone else, come back to them and working on it. But it is, it's a little...
It's different, and it's maybe the side of it that I don't enjoy as much, that side of it. So I started Sportology with Uni, which wasn't really the same. We did, it was football, boxing and UFC we covered. And we started that at a time, it was going well and we did it through lockdown and it was good. And it sort of kept, because I lost all my work during COVID. And what it did do was keep me working, kept me getting experience and kept me sort of out there. So then off the back of that, I got DAZN the first time round, off the back of that. So
at Fight Camp?
Yeah, Fight Camp, so I think, I just didn't want to sort of copy. I wouldn't want to copy what someone's done, because one, I don't think you do it better than them if they've done it first. And she was so successful at doing that. And also I wanted to sort of go down a slightly different route. So I never thought I'm going to start a YouTube channel and be a sort of YouTube, get a huge channel and be a YouTube...
You're misfits now, wouldn't you?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's just not me, because they're very over the top and you got to you know, do things for sort of clickbait maybe, and that's just not me at all.
That's fair enough.
But I can't even do a title that's a clickbait. You know, when people say, put this in the title, I'm like, no, it's not really what they said.
Oh, fuck it, roll it anyway. That's the IFL philosophy anyway. I'll just put it in. Did they say it? Don't know, who cares? Stick it in anyway.
Yeah, that's just not me.
By the way, before everyone starts jumping on that. So, for you currently, what are like, or do you have, what are the everyday battles for Ali Drew? Get up in the morning, what are they like?
I mean, I'm in a good place at the moment. My life's going very well. I mean, everyday battles is just, I put a lot of pressure on myself. So it's just me wanting to do the best I can. So I put a lot of stress, you know, and pressure on myself. Sometimes that leads to sort of getting anxiety, because sometimes I feel like things that are out of my control, I'm trying to make happen or wanting things to happen quicker. You know, my patience isn't the best. So, you know, that I've got to manage. I do that by, like, I've started to not meditate, like properly meditate, but I just try and take 10 minutes just to clear my mind and not think, because I'm like an overthinker and I don't stop. I'm constantly working. I don't really stop. So just to try and keep myself, not getting too far ahead of myself, and, you know, not to rush things. Things will happen when they happen. So yeah, I'd say like day to day, my battles are just trying to not put too much pressure on myself more than anything, for sure.
Now, this next one is obviously something I do predominantly talk to or ask boxers about, but it's interesting because you're kind of actively involved and have been for a few years around boxers. But how prominent do you think depression is in boxing?
Massive.
From what you can see,
Yeah,
just from
massive.
an outside perspective.
I mean, in terms of current boxing, not as high as post, like the post period once they retire.
Yeah.
Massive. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a hard industry for boxers to be in. It's really, really hard. You know, waiting for fight. I mean, my boyfriend's a boxer, and waiting for fights, trying to get the opportunities. You know, when you're in camp, it's incredibly intense. You know, the dieting, and it's a very up and down sport. You know, if people get one defeat, it's like the end of the world. You know, people are writing them off from one defeat. You wouldn't get that in any other sport if you get defeated once. So I think it's massive in this industry. I think in sports in general, post-retirement in anything, I think you hear it a lot in football and stuff, just because it takes over their life since they were probably 6, 10, when they started, and that's all they've ever wanted to do, that's all they've ever known, and then it's all just sudden, it's just gone when they retire, and there's nothing that helps them, there's nothing that offers support or how they should deal with it. You know, they go from not really being able to drink for however long to they can just do whatever they want, and so I just think, yeah, I think it's very prevalent in boxing and sport in general.
Yeah, I think the most common answer I've had from boxers that have answered this, it's kind of that moment of reaching an ultimate peak, or at the time an ultimate peak, and then it's like usually the downfall or that stage, if there is one, comes immediately after it, because you've had that night or you've, you know, whatever, and then it can crash quite quickly after that natural high.
Yeah.
And a lot of fighters have said that, and it's been prominent. We look at Tyson Fury when he beat Klitschko all them years ago. Kind of Tyson's really bad period come off the back of
just off the back of that,
and that should have been like, wow, how can anyone be in that situation after doing that?
Yeah, so I suppose if it's the same in anything. If you've got a goal to achieve, a very specific goal, so it's not as if you want a sort of life goal. It's like, I want to win the world title, whatever it is, and then you achieve that. You're surrounded by people all the time. They've got people stopping them in the streets, you know, having photos. It's the best thing ever. And then afterwards, you sort of get a little bit forgot. Not so much Tyson Fury, because he's such a big name. But if you're not maybe a heavyweight, you don't get recognised as much, you know, walking down the street. The other boxers, even if you get world titles, a lot of them aren't recognised walking down the street unless it's a boxing fan. No. So they go from having everything, achieving the goal, and then what? What is, they've got nothing that they can get up for. They can't have that feeling again. They've got nothing to get out of bed for. People once they've, people are quick to forget. So if you won the world title 3 months ago, they're looking to someone else now. You're sort of old news. You've not got another fight coming up, so you probably have less people around you. It's a lot. It just suddenly stops. So that must be really, really hard to deal with. I can't imagine that feeling of you've worked your whole life for something. You've got it, but now what?
Yeah.
What is next?
I think if you look at kind of options available to like retired fighters, I mean, if you're lucky to get some sort of position within broadcast media, you're very fortunate. Not fortunate, you've earned it, but
there's not loads of positions.
That's what I meant. There's not loads of positions. Some fighters have obviously gone into some sort of training capacity. Others have invested into other aspects of like different businesses and kind of do that. Probably still not going to give them the same highs of boxing. And then, I mean, you look at people like James DeGale. I mean, James DeGale retired from the sport years ago, and literally, I mean, I haven't seen James since then. James, if you're watching, hello. But I haven't seen James. James completely took himself away from the whole thing.
And he was very in the limelight when he was very
Olympic
much.
gold medalist, won a world title, did everything. His last fight with Eubank obviously didn't pan out for him, but had one of the most successful careers in this country from any boxer.
Probably one of the most well-known boxers as well.
Has chosen just to be like, I don't want to be around any of it for his own reasons. But I kind of get it as well. Just like, I don't need to be around that industry. I'm not in that industry anymore.
Yeah.
Just let me live my life,
Yeah, it's hard, and I suppose it's a very fickle industry. You hear a lot, a lot of bitchiness, not just for what I do, but just in general in boxing. You hear it. I mean, you must know of like people saying it. Boxers say it a lot. It's very bitchy. It's very fickle. There's a lot of, I don't know. I mean, I don't really know how like the ins and outs of that side, but you hear them say it a lot. It's very bitchy, and people supporting you when you're winning, maybe not when you're not winning, and it must be. I do understand why people would completely step away. Definitely.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's not like your moment when you have had your moments, but you can be easily forgotten about.
Yeah, definitely.
Very quickly in boxing, and you haven't got. It's different with football. A football team loses, and they've got next week to kind of win the fans back over. With boxing, you might not fight for 6 months. You know what I mean? You've got to go through a whole of that with if you have lost a fight, etc. And I'm sure their phone does ring less. I'm sure they get less messages and less whatever. It's just I don't know if that's life. I don't know whether that's. I don't know. Like there's always a thing of a British mentality of kind of always rooting for the underdog, and then when they get there, it's almost
not supporting them.
Yeah. So AJ is a typical example of AJ. Done loads for boxing over the years. Won world titles, Olympic gold medalist. Done so much for boxing and the country, and then it's like a defeat here, and it's like
a few bad defeats.
People love to.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
It is mad. I mean, it is a weird mentality that you say they don't. When you get to the top, it's as if, we don't want to back them anymore. It is very, it's odd. It's an odd one.
I heard actually Eddie Hearn in an interview saying that, everyone hates me right now, or certain people hate me right now because I'm absolutely smashing. In his own words, number one promoter in the world. But if I went a bit shit, everyone would be my friend again. And I thought, you know what, there's a bit of truth in that as well.
Well, I mean, years ago, I went to a Matchroom event years ago. And I remember when Eddie walked out, the whole crowd booed him. And he was laughing, like he doesn't take it personally, that he wasn't bothered, he found it funny. But I did think, God, why are they booing him? That is weird. Like, why would they boo him?
I've always said when people have said about, or you hear the boos for Hearn, I think it's a bit like going to watch like a
pantomime
at Christmas. It's almost like, he comes on, it's like, boo! But really, when he walks past,
definitely.
Because I've seen that as well. I've seen it, whatever, so I think a little bit that's tongue in cheek, but obviously amplified over like an arena or whatever, boos. I don't think he's had that for a while now.
No, I've not heard it for a while. No. It was a good few years ago that happened.
Might encourage it for the next event.
I know, now we've brought it up again.
Would you call yourself an emotional person?
Yeah, I'd say I'm quite emotional. Yeah.
Like, do you cry a lot?
I cry. I cry when I'm I love dogs, and I cry. I watch dog programs quite a lot, and I end up crying all the time. And I still watch the shows, and I still cry every time. If like dogs are being rehomed or they have to go to the vets or something, I'll cry for that. I wouldn't say I cry for for proper reasons. I am emotional, but I wouldn't say I cry very often. Like the last time I cried was my family dog, my family boxer dog, passed away a few weeks ago, and I cried.
Sorry to
then.
hear
I know it was very sudden. It was just it was sad. But day to day, I don't really cry over like things that upset me. I get like, it almost drives me on. Like I get angry rather than crying, more than anything.
Okay. Overthinking.
Yeah.
Angry instead of crying.
No, I think I use certain things to like motivate me. So, like if something was to, let's say, annoy me or upset me, I wouldn't sit and feel sorry for myself. I'd be thinking, right, what can I do to get that better, or to change it around? Can I do anything about it? Like, that's what I mean by I've had to sort of almost use meditation or just thinking time to change the way that I think about things. So if certain things, because I've got quite OCD about planning stuff, it's actually quite bad. So what I've had to do, learn to control that, is to think, right, can I change something? Have I got any control over whatever the situation is? And if not, then don't worry about it and focus on something that I can change or I can do something about. Otherwise, it does become a bit overwhelming that I can't necessarily plan every single thing that I'm doing. You know, even things like if I haven't even, not even work related, say my boyfriend Sam and I are doing something with our days, and he'll say, can we just pop into my mum's before we go there? And I'll go, oh, I don't know if we've got time for that. And there's no time, we don't need, it's just because we said we were going to do something at 1. I'm like, oh, no, I don't know if we've, and I have to sit and think, like, if I be allowed half an hour to get there, then we can maybe fit it in. And like, he's like, we don't need to be there at that time. We can just go whenever. But because of my planning, I have to be like, okay, in my head, that's what we're doing, and now we've got time for it. I couldn't just be like, on a whim, just go there and then go to where we were planning.
No schedule stuff.
I know. He's like, I need the toilet. I'm like, no, we've got no time.
7 minutes before. That's all right.
Oh God, yeah. So I just have to manage that. To be honest, that's just like a manageable thing, really.
So, you're in a relationship with professional fighter Sam Gilly, who's a rather charming young man.
He's lovely. Yes.
How's that?
It's good. It's really good. Yeah, it's weird. Because obviously, because we're both in the same industry. Yeah. We didn't actually meet through, like I never worked with him, never interviewed him, nothing like that. We sort of met through, because we've always got loads of mutual friends. So we sort of just saw each other at shows or whatever, but never worked together, never spoke. And then when we started sort of speaking, it was weird that we had been in the same, I'd ring-girled one of his fights, we'd been at venues together, but we'd like never spoken or didn't know each other. He knew of me. He said he tried to speak to me 7 years ago, and I totally blanked him, apparently. Apparently he held the door open for me, tried to say hello, and I just walked through and ignored him. But I think maybe was he like being a bit creepy back then, so I ignored him. So, we don't know. He said I was being rude. I don't think so. I'm very polite. So I think he was maybe just giving like starey vibes, or, I'm not into that. So maybe that was what it was. Okay. But it was years ago, and we've worked out fine.
Get help.
We've worked out fine now.
I'm only joking. But yeah, that's obviously a completely kind of like the situation of being with someone in not just the same industry, but like that boxing lifestyle of like camps and training, and I'm sure the odd mood swing here and there, and making weight and all that. It's not an easy thing. So I suppose obviously loads of people's, they used to call them wags back in the day. I don't know if you're a wag or not.
I don't think so.
Wife and girlfriend, but it's challenging at times.
Yeah, it is. It really is. He's in camp at the moment, and it's hard. We don't live together, but it's hard. Obviously, they're making weight. It's camp in general. They've got to really focus. They're training twice a day. It's sort of you can't do anything else. So when they're in camp, it's like you couldn't. You can't go away for weekends. You can't go out for meals. You can't do things like normal couples would do for quite a long period of time. It takes over, and that's just, I suppose, one of the side effects of being with a boxer. That's just how it is. I understand it because I work in industry, so maybe I understand it a bit more than others.
Yeah, you would do, because you've been around it.
Yeah, and and I know the fight week setup, and I know what it's like. And I'm maybe a bit more comfortable in the fight environment, like the fight night environment. When like I go into his change room before his fight, and it's not alien to me. Yeah. So maybe that helps. Maybe that helps him, the fact that I'm comfortable in that situation. But yeah, it's hard. Like and then when he's out of camp, I'm still going to shows, I'm still working, and he's not, and he's like, well, I want to go on holiday the week after, but then I'll be working, I've got shows. It doesn't stop for me. So yeah, it's difficult, but we make it work, and we're lucky that we are in the same industry, really, because we understand it.
Who would you say has been the biggest influence in your life?
Biggest influence? My parents, definitely. My dad. My mum and dad, both of them, really. They've been so supportive of me in like everything that I've done. They've always believed in me. My dad used to do hypnotherapy and stuff, so he used to, before we went to bed, he used to sort of, while we were going to sleep, he'd do like sort of a talk to us, to me and my brother, just saying that you can do whatever you want, your confidence, basically just letting us have the belief that we could do whatever we wanted. They're the ones who have sort of instilled in me that if I want to do something, I can do it, as long as I work hard. They're incredibly hardworking, my parents, and they've given that to me. I've seen it, I've seen it throughout my whole life, that if you go out and work and you want to do something, definitely my parents, they have just given me all the tools that I need in order to work hard, achieve what I want to, and believe in myself.
It's nice. It's nice.
Yeah.
Like when people give acknowledgement to their.
It's definitely.
Their parents.
Yeah. Yeah, because like everything that I've done, they know I'm sensible, and they know that I'm very stubborn and very clear on what I want. So they know that if I'm going to do something, I'll do it to the best of my ability. It'll be in order to benefit myself. I think they worry that I travel a lot. They worry that I'm on the road all the time. Even now, I'm like, I've not lived at home for years, but they still worry. They still say, messages when you get there. Dad's always like, oh, have you arrived okay? Even if it's just an hour down the road. It's lovely.
Do it now. They make sure they get the if I fly.
Yeah, if I forget.
And I've forgotten airport in a cab on the way, whatever, and then I get a message from my mum going you haven't messaged us. They literally want, as soon as that plane lands. Yeah. They want a message there.
Yeah, because sometimes I'll be trying to park somewhere and I'll see my phone light up and Dad's like, so did you arrive okay? And I'm like, well, I'm technically not there yet. I will message you when I'm there. But yeah, so they just know that everything I've done is to get to where I want to, and they've just always been really supportive.
Right, so this is not a regret, but if you could go back in your life and handle any situation in your life differently, gave you one shot at doing that, is there anything you'd go back and... Because obviously everything's led to this point.
Yeah,
now, so it's a difficult one, but...
Yeah, I don't tend to think that anything I've done is a regret, or... Because as I say, I'm quite sensible, so everything I've done is sort of, there's been a reason for it. And I also think that things happen for a reason. So things that I've done have maybe led into, open doors or whatever. Like I don't think it's a secret. I did X on the Beach back in the day.
Did you?
Yeah. Did you not know?
No.
Oh, you actually didn't know?
No,
oh, well. I wasn't sure.
Did you?
Oh, okay, yeah, I did years ago. And that's not really me. It isn't me, I'm not. But I think people think I'm some wild partier and really social, and
you're definitely not.
You know
You're
me.
Actually quite boring.
I am. I really am. I'm not social. I don't go out. I don't think I've ever gone out on. I mean, how many hundreds of fight weeks? I don't think I've ever gone out.
We spent time together in Dubai and other areas of the world. And
Vegas.
Vegas and wherever else, and you're tucked up in bed by 10 o'clock. I'm like, we're in Vegas, baby.
I know. I'm not a drinker. I don't really drink. So, and also when I'm in work mode, which is most of the time. But I take my job so seriously, and I want to do the best I can. To me, if I'm in a fight week, I'm not working. I'm not concentrating. I'm potentially, not going to be thinking as well as I could if I'm tired. So yeah, I don't socialise ever. So going on X on the Beach, I suppose, isn't really me. And it wasn't at the time. I don't think my mum was very keen on me doing it. Because it was reality TV and stuff. But my dad said, you're sensible, and if you think it will benefit you and open doors, because at that point I was trying to get presenting work and I just couldn't. I was getting little jobs here and there, but it wasn't a good jobs. I wasn't getting where I wanted to be. So I thought, and I got offered this opportunity, and I thought if I do it, it could potentially put me out there in order to get more work. it could also go the other way and people would be like, oh no, we don't want to work with her because she's been on X on the Beach. But because I was sensible on there, you know, I was really careful with what I did on there, didn't get drunk on there. So it did open doors. And yeah, maybe a bit of an unusual thing for me when you know me. It's a bit odd for me to do that. But all it did was open doors and opportunities for me. I don't think it did anything as a hindrance.
No.
So yeah, I don't have regrets really of anything that I do.
Yeah, it's a difficult one, that, because some people have said to me, like, they wish they'd kind of spent more time with people or they'd done those kind of things, which I kind of get. But ultimately, really, yeah, if you're kind of in a good place currently, anyone is, then really every moment's kind of led to that. So.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. If you asked me this a year ago, or if maybe I wasn't in such a good place, you could then say, wish I hadn't done this, or maybe I hadn't done that. But I do think that you can't live with regrets. You have to just make the best of everything, make the most of every situation. That's what I'm probably very good at, is taking every opportunity I can. Like, as you know, I have worked for everybody in boxing. Well, yeah, that's true. I think, did I do,
you did do something.
I did do something for you. I don't know what.
Was it, I remember you did a couple of interviews at,
Did I do an interview for you at something?
I felt like you did.
I feel like I have as well.
Like, I felt like we was in a hotel in Newcastle. Am I making this up?
No, I've got a recollection of, like, I just can't think when though.
Do you know what?
But yeah, I mean, I get where water can't, really. I do, people say that to me all the time. I just pop up here, there and everywhere. But the thing is, you just have to take every opportunity because you don't know where it's going to lead. So that's just my mentality. I've just taken every opportunity I can and made the best out of everything.
Yeah, I think I just Googled you on YouTube.
Oh, right.
Just next to IFL. I'm pretty certain you had.
I know. I think I had.
Up. Anyway.
I definitely done hosting when it's been streamed on IFL. 100%.
Oh, you have,
yeah,
100%.
Yeah, definitely. Kind of have.
Right, this next one, you can come back to this one.
Okay.
Have a little think. If there's a song out there that describes your life...
God, that's a hard one. Which song?
What song would it be? It could be the title, it could be the context of the song. We can come back to it.
Yeah, that's really, like, a song. We might have to come back to that because I wouldn't have... This is at the point where you can't think of, like, even one song.
I know.
Not one song in the whole world.
Something that was asked to me in, like, a series of questions, and I was like, oh, I don't know.
That's an odd one.
Then I started thinking of titles, and then I was thinking...
Yeah, because I don't know a lot of, like, titles of songs. I just like the song. Because I don't have a genre of music that I like. Yeah. I like a range of music. Like, I normally listen to smooth radio. But I like loads of music. And so, yeah, I don't really know titles of songs, but I'll have a think.
Have a think. If you can... Everyone has somehow got there. It might have not been...
Actually, I've just thought of one, which I used to listen to. And I don't know what the title is, standard. I think it's by someone, I'm sure.
Sing it.
I can't even think. So I'm sure it's by, is it Charlie Brown, maybe?
Charlie Brown?
Yeah. And it's called, oh, I've got it on my phone.
I want to say...
It basically says, if you work harder, I work harder. It's basically just saying, like, someone could be really good at something, but you'll do better, you'll work harder.
Let me...
It's like right at the tip of my tongue, but I can't think what is.
No, I know who you mean with Charlie Brown, because he sung... Right there.
Yeah, I can't think what it's called. But yeah, it's basically, I remember listening to it and thinking, yeah, someone could be doing really well, or people could be getting jobs and I'm not, but I'm going to work harder and I'm going to get there. It's basically saying, like, I might not be doing good now, but I will get there. Right. That's what the lyrics are.
Okay. Well, let us know if you find out what it is.
It'll be on my phone. I can have a look. I've got it. I've definitely got it. It comes up on my playlist.
I'm quite curious to know.
Okay, yeah, I'm me.
How are you going to find it if you don't know the title?
Well, because I'll type in Charlie Brown, no?
I just did, but nothing really...
On My Way, it's called.
On My Way? Oh, yeah. That is actually what come up.
On My Way. So it's basically saying you're on your way to, like, achieving what you want to. So I just remember... Yeah, that was like, when I listened to it, I thought, oh, that's me. When I wasn't where I wanted to be, I thought, okay, I'm on my way, I'm getting there. You know, I'm working hard and I'm doing these jobs for free in order to get to where I want to.
Okay.
So yeah.
See, there is always
There you
one.
go.
There we go. Didn't even know that, did you? Right, couple more.
Yeah.
I don't want to ask, are you allowed to reveal your age?
I can do, yeah.
Okay, no.
Oh, how old do you think I am? I love this game.
26?
I'll take it, I'm 34.
34.
34.
It took 8 years off your life.
Yes.
34.
Better than saying 8 years more, God.
Yeah. If 34-year-old Ali Drew
Yeah.
could go back in time and give some advice to 21-year-old Ali Drew for 5 minutes, what would you say? Not for 5 minutes, but what would you say to her?
I would say just relax and enjoy the process, definitely. Because I think sometimes just people, and me especially, but people in general, are so focused on achieving what they want that they don't actually enjoy the steps to get there. Like
So true.
It is so true. And like I was so desperate to be a full-time presenter or so desperate to get this job on this platform or this network that I didn't enjoy the jobs that I did to get there. And, you know, the sort of amazing opportunities that I've had. You know, I've travelled the world doing the jobs I've done. And almost you're not in the moment because say if I travelled to Vegas or Dubai and I was doing it for a YouTube platform, I was doing the sort of YouTube journalism, which wasn't my ultimate goal. It's as if, I would be looking and be like, I want to be there. I want to be on that platform, being the main presenter or doing this. So then I wasn't totally in the moment thinking, I'm getting paid to be in Vegas or getting paid to be in Dubai. And so I think I would have just said, just enjoy it a bit more because it will happen. It's easy to say that when you've got to the position you want, it's easy to say it will happen because at the time you think, is it ever going to happen? But I would just say, just enjoy it. Enjoy the process because that's part of the fun. That is part of the fun.
I mean, it's true with a lot of aspects of life in general, isn't it? Because I remember when my daughter was born, and I was always like, oh, I can't wait till she's walking, and when's she going to be walking, and when's she going to say her first words, and all that. But now she is doing them things.
You're like, oh, baby.
And she's a little woman
Yeah.
who's got a best friend now, called Charlotte.
Oh.
Right? She said, like, her best friend Charlotte.
so
I don't
cute.
even know who Charlotte is. I don't know, it could be like an imaginary friend. Like Drop Dead Fred or something. Oh. But it's weird because I think now, hang on, she's got a best friend now.
Yeah, you're not like her whole world,
like,
yeah.
You know, I'm sure it'll be a different best friend next week or whatever. But no, the whole thing of like, I wanted that process to almost...
Yeah, go really quickly, yeah.
Get to it. And then it's like, no, really, it's like that there's moments that you should have kind of waited for.
Yeah, appreciate
let sink in.
Yeah, the baby stage, yeah.
Do you want kids?
I do, yeah, I do, yeah. I want twins, which is...
Twins?
I can't...
Very specific.
I know, it's basically... I've been a bit obsessed with twins. So there's twins in my family. I think maybe that's where it stemmed from, because there was twins, and my aunties I was quite close to my twin aunties growing up. So I've always been very obsessed with twins, and used to love any twin like program, like Mary Kate and Ashley. I was obsessed with when I was growing up, and The Parent Trap was like a twin film. I was just obsessed with twins. So I've always just thought like I'll have twins because it's always been a thing. My mum and dad always said that I was just always obsessed with. If I saw twins, I'd be like, oh God, that's amazing. There's two of them that are the same. I just think obviously I can't plan it, but I think I might have twins. Weird.
Okay. You can watch
Sounds like that. No, we don't want twins.
Now you can get triplets.
Yeah, people who have got twins, they're like, no, you don't want twins.
God.
But I do want kids. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
it's just eventually. I'm not rushing to have them.
Yeah. Right, last one. What still drives that fight within you? What is when Ali Drew gets up? What are really the factors that kind of push you forward for the day, the week, whatever?
I have just always had this, I don't know, a drive, I suppose, inside me to want to achieve and want to do more. I'm never totally satisfied with what I'm doing. I always want to do better. And I think that's a brilliant mindset to have. It's quite draining sometimes because you never feel quite happy with, or you never feel fulfilled. You know, I'm happy, I'm very happy, and I'm in a really good place, but I never feel fulfilled that I've like achieved what I want. So I sometimes I look at people and they're really, really fulfilled in, you know, a job they've got. It could be anything. They could work in a shop and they love it, and it's like they're fulfilled in that job. And I think, wow, that would be amazing, because like God, you're so happy in day to day, and it's not as if they're not trying to work to achieve something. They're just so happy in their day to day. And I think, oh, that must be nice to have that, because sometimes it's just pressure every day to try and get more, to do better and do more, even though I love being like that. So I wouldn't want to change it for the world. And sometimes it brings a lot of pressure, but yeah, every day I just have this drive. I've had it since a kid, that I knew that I just always wanted to do better, be better. And yeah, that's what sort of keeps me going.
I think that's a really, really, really good attitude to have, but there are flaws to it, like you said.
100%.
Like one word I really hate. I don't hate it, but when people are content with stuff, because if you're content in certain things, I'm not saying like in a relationship, it's different kind of dynamics for a relationship, but if you're content with where you are in life, it's almost like you're saying, right, I'm here, but I don't really want to move forward. But if you don't have that attitude, not really be satisfied. Not every aspect. There's certain things that whatever. But I feel if you have that attitude, then you are always gonna want to better yourself. And that's not like a relationship's mad to use that kind of analogy to, because it's like saying
you just
I'm
keep
with
moving
you now, but I'm looking for someone better. Do you know what I mean? You're just here for now. No, that's different. But in life, especially with work.
Yes.
Like not being content and satisfied, and that's
I never feel like I am, and I've had that since a very young age. No matter what I'm doing, I've never, like, I was an athlete, I was a runner when I was younger, and I just, even if I was winning stuff, or I broke the school record, or I, won the county this or whatever it was like, well, I haven't won the English schools, I haven't won the national. It was never. It was brilliant, and I was happy with it. And I'd say I'm quite a happy person, but I was just never content with what I was doing. I wanted to do better. So, and I've just always had that. And I think that's just what keeps me going.
Okay, well, listen, you survived.
I did.
You survived.
It wasn't as bad as I thought.
I told you it wouldn't be, right. But Ali Drew, much appreciate your time, I'm sure. Yeah, I'll tell you what, we'll do part 2 when you've had
kids
given the birth of your twins.
Okay.
Yeah?
Deal.
Not on the day.
No, not at the time. Wait.
Give it a few days. But Ali Drew, thank you very much. And guys, thank you very much for watching or listening. We will see you next week, or hear us next week on Raw the Fight Within. We are out. Thank you very much.